European data confirms that 2023 was the hottest year on record, likely exceeding temperatures of any period in the last 100,000 years.
On a mission to de-escalate tensions in the Middle East, the U.S. Secretary of State has held talks with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other leaders. Anthony Blinken is seeking to prevent Israel's war on Hamas becoming a wider regional conflict. He also discussed the post-war governance of Gaza with Netanyahu and with the country's foreign minister, Israel Katz. Blinken has just secured the backing of Arab nations and Turkey for the reconstruction of Gaza and is pushing Israel for its support. Yet some, including a minority within Israel, are calling for an immediate ceasefire before any plans for the territory's future are implemented. A small group made their feelings clear as Blinken met with Israeli leaders. But there seems no prospect of a truce soon, with Israeli forces pushing deeper into southern Gaza and intensive aerial bombardments continuing. The offensive has already left over 23,000 Palestinians dead and displaced nearly 85% of Gaza's population of 2.3 million. Hamas's October 7th attack killed around 1,200 Israelis, and militants took about 250 others hostage.
Some 3,000 people gathering outside the European Commission office in the Polish capital Warsaw on Monday evening. They were calling on the EU to provide much-needed support and weapons to Ukraine. It was organized by the Euromaidan Warsaw Initiative.
Niemal cały teren Ukrainy jest cały czas bombardowany. Mnóstwo ofiar, w tym ofiary śmiertelne. Są to zazwyczaj osoby cywilne, a Europa niestety nadal śpi i my przychodzimy dzisiaj tutaj pod instytucje Unii Europejskiej, żeby tą Europę troszeczkę obudzić.
Meanwhile, in Berlin, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called on European Union states to step up support for Ukraine.
So wichtig unser deutscher Beitrag ist, er allein wird nicht ausreichen, um die Sicherheit der Ukraine dauerhaft zu gewährleisten. Ich rufe deshalb die Verbündeten in der Europäischen Union auf, ihre Anstrengungen zugunsten der Ukraine ebenfalls zu verstärken. Die bisher von der Mehrzahl der EU-Mitgliedstaaten geplanten Waffenlieferungen für die Ukraine sind jedenfalls zu gering.
And in Ukraine, soldiers in the Kharkiv region have urged the world not to forget their war against Russia.
Якщо ми не будемо захищати нашу державу, крім нас її ніхто не захистить. Сюди ніхто не прийде воювати. Це, якщо ми хочемо жити в нашій державі, незалежній, демократичній, це наш обов'язок.
He says they're continuing to fight despite the harsh winter conditions. After 12 months which saw new daily and monthly record highs, 2023 has been confirmed as the hottest year to date. In its annual global report, Europe's Copernicus Space and Climate Data Agency says unprecedented temperatures from June onwards led 2023 to surpass 2016 as the warmest year so far. The data charts the rise of global surface temperatures relative to pre-industrial levels. It shows daily averages briefly topped them by more than 2 degrees Celsius at certain points in the year. Across the world, the extreme impact was evident in extensive wildfires and sustained heat waves, which may have been intensified by the El Niño weather phenomenon. Temperatures in Europe were above average for 11 months of the year, and 2023 saw the warmest September on record. The report also extrapolates that a 12-month period ending in January or February 2024 would exceed the 1.5 degrees Celsius global temperature rise level that the UN says would trigger irreversible climate change.
The snow and extreme cold in Europe continue to complicate life for thousands of citizens throughout the continent, north and south. Sweden recorded minus 43.6 degrees Celsius, its lowest temperature since 1999, while in Denmark temperatures have dropped to minus 20 degrees, causing traffic disruption. This morning, Danish car assistance companies received inquiries from more than 2,000 motorists who needed help. There have been traffic accidents in several places. Snow and sub-zero temperatures on Monday also caused another day of disruption across Moldova, prompting authorities in the capital to close schools and suspend public transport. Police have also warned drivers to take caution after assisting vehicles that veered off the roads amid the icy conditions.
Spain's Ministry of Health will impose the mandatory use of masks in hospitals and health centers from Wednesday due to a flu wave. According to the latest report from the Carlos III Health Institute, the global incidence of respiratory virus infection is close to 1,000 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. Yet the hospitalization rate remains under 30 cases per 100,000 inhabitants. The rule is transitory in nature, while the epidemic peak of flu and coronavirus infections lasts.
A happy ending in Slovenia after divers rescued 5 people who'd been trapped underground for more than 2 days. They'd entered the Krishna Yarmad cave on Saturday, but got stuck after heavy rain caused the subterranean water to rise fast. The popular tourist destination features a string of emerald-coloured lakes and is only accessible by boat and raft. Rescue workers say the hours-long operation on Monday only became possible when the water levels dropped. Officials say all 5 are in good spirits and were not in need of medical help.
German farmers blocked the main motorway access roads in some parts of the country on Monday. It's the start of a week of protests against the government plan to eliminate tax benefits for farmers. In Berlin, hundreds of tractors blocked the main access to the Brandenburg Gate. Protests planned for the next 7 days include rallies that will disrupt traffic in several regions.
Farmers are promising to block the roads for the next 8 days, despite the German government revising the 2024 budget that sparked these protests in the first place. The changes will see agricultural diesel subsidies reduced over the next 2 years before ending in 2026. But farmers say this is not enough.
Dass die Bundesregierung eine Steuererhöhung einseitig gegen die einzige Branche, die weitgehend klimaneutral arbeitet, nämlich die Landwirtschaft, wir nutzen ja die Sonnenenergie hauptsächlich, verkauft als Abbau von klimaschädlichen Subventionen. Also das ist so abgrundverlogen.
The ruling coalition, led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, infuriated farmers last month with plans to abolish the car tax exemption for agricultural vehicles and tax breaks on diesel fuel.
Convicted mass murderer Anders Breivik appeared in court on Monday in a second attempt to sue the Norwegian state for allegedly breaching his human rights. Breivik, a right-wing extremist who killed 77 people in a deadly rampage, appeared before a judge in Oslo, claiming his solitary confinement since being imprisoned in 2012 amounts to inhumane treatment under the European Convention of Human Rights. A similar claim during a case in 2016 was accepted, but later overturned. On the 22nd of July 2011, Breivik killed 8 people in a bomb attack in Oslo before heading to a youth camp on Utøya Island, where, dressed as a police officer, he stalked and gunned down 69 more, mostly teenagers. He has shown no remorse for his attacks, which he portrayed as a crusade against multiculturalism in Norway.
The terrifying moments after an Alaska Airlines plane lost a door plug mid-flight last Friday. And on Monday, the airline said an inspection revealed some loose hardware visible on some of its aircraft. Now, United Airlines says it too has found loose bolts on several of its planes of the same model. Preliminary inspections of its aircraft on Saturday found what it described as installation issues, including bolts on the door plug that needed additional tightening. Following the Alaska Airlines incident, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration grounded all Boeing MAX 9s installed with the same panel. The United Airlines find means the investigation will likely now be expanded to the whole fleet.
7.
It was the perfect liftoff for the first United States attempt at a moon landing in over 50 years. But less than 24 hours into the mission, the company that developed the lunar lander it was carrying said it was abandoning an attempt to put the Peregrine spacecraft on the moon. Astrobotic Technology said while it had resolved an orientation problem preventing the craft from charging its batteries, the thrusters stopping an uncontrollable tumble would likely only operate for another 40 hours at the most. It said it was aiming to get Peregrine as close to lunar distance as possible before losing power.
South Korea's parliament on Tuesday passed a landmark ban on production and sales of dog meat. The bill would make slaughtering, breeding, and sales of dog meat for human consumption illegal from 2027 and punishable by 2 to 3 years in prison. It doesn't provide any penalties for eating dog meat. Dog meat consumption is a centuries-old practice on the Korean peninsula. Recent surveys show that more than half of South Koreans want dog meat banned, and that a majority no longer eat it.
The average litre of bottled water has nearly 250,000 invisible pieces of ever so tiny nanoplastics, detected and categorized for the first time by a microscope using dual lasers. Researchers at Columbia and Rutgers University discovered about 10 to 100 times more nanoplastics than microplastics in bottled water.
I mean, whether we see it or not, it's out there. So it's better that we actually know how much is out there and what they are. But I myself, as a scientist, I would want more data in terms of the toxicology study to actually know that how harmful it would be to my own body.
Nanoplastics are particles that are less than a micron in size. A human hair is about 83 microns wide. To answer the big question as to whether nanoplastic pieces are harmful to our health, experts agree that the new study opens doors to better understanding of the potential risks.